Bob Chapman is the publisher of the International Forecaster, a compendium of information on business, finance, economics, and social political issues worldwide. He is also a former intelligence operative, having spent 3 years in U.S. Army counterintelligence. He speaks several different languages and has spent time on several different continents, so he is indeed very worldly and extremely intelligent, which I guess they say military intelligence is an oxymoron, but Bob is no longer in intelligence, so he's been able to preserve his intelligence, if you know what I mean. Bob, who has been with us before, is back again. Welcome back, Bob, to the Global Freedom Report. Happy holidays.
Well, thank you very much, and happy holidays to you and all of your listeners. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you. And first thing, let me say what a pleasure it has been to have you join us regularly as a guest on this show. And on behalf of my listeners, I want to thank you for your honest, forthright, and clear explanations about what's really going on in the world.
Well, thank you. I guess that's an earmark for me. That's really all I'm interested in.
And it's very much appreciated.
Know what's going on out there. And especially, in the realm of, today we find more and more mainline news, which is faulty in nature, lies by omission. And we're even starting to find some of it on the Internet as well as alternative programs. I'd like to expose that.
Oh, fantastic.
It really upsets others, but that's just too bad.
No, and I mean, like my attitude has been all along. We need to restructure society so that truth is important. Right now the value systems of our society and other societies along the same line is truth is unimportant. Other things, money, position, power, that's more important than truth. Truth. That's just a minor annoyance. Truth. Now, okay, we're approaching the end of 2011. Can you offer an overall evaluation of this year with respect to the encroachments of freedom, the investments or lack thereof, the economic stability or instability, just an overall 2011 summary?
Well, first of all, I think it has become more evident to professionals and the public that the United States government and others, in conjunction with them, are manipulating all markets, and they really don't care who knows it. And it has ended free markets as we've known them worldwide, not just in America. And as long as they are able to do that, then we've got a problem. We don't have any financial freedom. And so to me, it's very important that the structure in America, in the House and the Senate, is changed. That we have people who are elected to go there that do what their constituents want them to do. And I think that's extremely important, among other important things, that we end this business of governments being able to manipulate markets. And today we saw a wonderful example of it. I mean, I checked the prices just before midnight Eastern Standard Time. And all of a sudden after that, the onslaught came. And there was an announcement on Tuesday by Deutsche Börse, and that is the German stock exchange, which is comparable to the New York Stock Exchange today. And they said that the IMF, the Bank of England, and the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department was simultaneously manipulating the gold and silver markets. A week ago, Deutsche Börse market letter had said that the Fed, the Treasury, Bank of England, and the IMF had been simultaneously backing gold and silver prices. They then said that, no, they've withdrawn this. And so you say to yourself, well...
That's the Ministry of Truth.
Yeah, why didn't you tell anybody that you withdrew the story? And why did you withdraw it? And there was no answer to that. And of course, they got a phone call and said, "Hey, you can't do that." And the bottom line is that they knuckled under. But the very fact that they printed the truth cannot be ignored, and it is admission. They're doing just what I've said they've been doing since 1988, legally. And they will continue to do that under the executive order signed by Ronald Reagan, who created the President's Working Group in Financial Markets, which is really a secret organization that manipulates all markets 24/7.
Now, taken from a naive perspective, tell me, why is it that, I thought gold and silver were solid substances, and so how is it they can manipulate the value?
Well, either sell physical that some of them may have, and they've been doing that for a long time. Some of them mask what they're doing by selling forward into the professional market. And they do that by leasing. And so let's say Germany wants to sell some gold, so they lease it. And it's tantamount to selling. The reason they do it that way is, number one, nobody sees the selling. And number two, nobody knows what's going on within their country in the structure of gold and silver. And they're allowed by the IMF to carry the gold and silver that they've sold as to they still own it, even though they've been paid dollars for it. It's total subterfuge. And,
well, now taking that into account, what do you think is going to happen with gold and silver?
Oh, they have to go up. It's the only safe place to be, and I'll tell you why. Because the monetary authorities throughout the world have got to continue to print money and credit. There is no other way they can avoid a deflationary depression. And so that's what they're going to do. And what happens when you do that? It gets monetized, it gets used, it goes into the economies of the world, and it causes inflation and sometimes even hyperinflation. Now, you can't believe the government's figures in the United States and most other countries. We're talking 3.8 inflation officially. The real inflation is 11.6%. And as all these plans get into the system, QE2, Stimulus 2, QE3, the swapping and lending of money here, there, and everywhere, and lying about it, and getting caught by the GAO. It's incredible what's going on. And so the only safe place to be that I know of is gold and silver coins, bullion, and shares. And if somebody knows a better place, or a place that's good, I wish they'd tell me.
Yeah, no, that's...
I've been seeking it for years.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. And as a matter of fact, I was going to ask you, are there any other attractive places to invest during these unstable times, beyond gold and silver? That's something I was going to ask you, but I think you kind of sort of answered it.
Well, implicitly, there is no other place. And no matter what they do, currency is going to flow into gold, and silver, immutable objects that have been the center of currencies for 6,000 years. This is not some Johnny-come-lately thing. This has been happening for a long time. Civilization, one after the other, who have done the same thing that the bankers have done this time again. They do it every 30 or 40 years. They've ended up with the same results. And so these bankers know that sooner or later what's going to happen is we are going to get hyperinflation and then a collapse into deflationary depression, and then the only thing that's going to be worth anything is gold and silver. Just look at the 1930s.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, what you're saying makes complete sense, and I agree with you, and I just wanted to hear, how you would have phrased that. But yeah, that kind of makes me feel good because that's kind of been the path I've been on. And I've been telling people for years that's where you have to go. Let's move into currency for a moment because the euro is going to collapse. Seems fairly obvious. However, there are now reports, just reports and rumors right now, that the Federal Reserve might seek to bail out the Eurozone. When do you expect the euro will finally collapse, and what do you see as the repercussions when it does happen?
Well, first of all, the effort by the Fed started last week. And second of all, they are going to continue to make swaps with banks. They're doing them through the ECB, the European Central Bank. And those monies will be used for loans to fund dollar balances for loans by European banks because they don't have any dollars. And why don't they have any dollars? Because the people who buy their bills and notes, bonds, American institutions like money market funds, pension funds, they have just sold over the last several months all but $5 billion of their holdings down from $76 billion. So that means the Fed had to come in and come up with at least some $70 billion and probably more like $100 billion to keep the banks liquefied. But that's not going to be the end all of this because it's going to get worse. Because they get all these bills coming up. And the bills are to fund the six nations in financial trouble. What's it going to cost? Well, to go sideways, probably in the vicinity of $6 trillion.
Yeah, but now, you see, now you're just tossing monopoly money out there because people can't even conceptualize how much money that is. What people can't conceptualize is that sooner or later it has to stop. Sooner or later it has to collapse. And when is that going to happen? How long can they keep up the three-card Monte game?
That's hard to gauge. And I can't give you an answer because I don't know. All I know is it is going to happen. And it could be 5 years. It could be 7 or 8 months. I don't know. All I know is it's all in place. And they know the game that they're playing doesn't work. And in the final analysis, when we start to roll down into this deflationary, they'll have another war or wars. And that's what they're leading up to right now. So when we see more wars start, we'll know that we're getting much closer to the collapse of currencies. And once this war is going on, they'll get together with the Bank for International Settlements. They'll have a big meeting like they had in the 70s at the Smithsonian meetings, and then again in 1985 at the Plaza Accord in Paris, and then in 87 at the Louvre Accord in Paris as well. And they'll revalue, devalue, and they will also default multilaterally. But that's the only way they can extricate themselves. And they'll blame it all on these wars. Well, it was terrible Muslims that did it. It used to be the Russians. Now it's the Chinese. I'll blame anybody. And then I'll get everybody running around like a mad racist saying, well, let's kill them all. I lived through the Second World War. I know what propaganda is all about.
And war is indeed what historically is used to pull economies out of their respective depressions. Do you think we're looking at war with Iran? Is that where this?
Well, yeah, but that's
the war
just
that
among
we're talking about?
Many other possibilities. I think they're priming the Muslim world to have wars with one another. And why I say that is that Egypt had Mr. Mubarak thrown out of office. That was a U.S. MI6 operation. And that's replaced by the Muslim Brotherhood. Well, you Westerners, who in the heck is the Muslim Brotherhood? I mean, does a bunch of Muslims have secret meetings? Well, the answer is yes. And are they violent? Oh, yes, they are. And What kind of people are they? Well, they're ultra-conservative Muslims, and they were formed in 1923 and financed by MI6, the British government. And they were joined in their endeavors in the late 1930s by the OSS, which became the CIA. And so they both do their thing in there nowadays. Now, what is some of the background that major media doesn't want to talk about the Muslim Brotherhood? Well, if you go look at history, you'll find out that during the Second World War in 1943, and the Mufti of Jerusalem was living in Berlin at the time, and he was very, very pro-Nazi. And so what happened? The Grand Mufti sent 2 divisions of soldiers of the Muslim faith to fight on the Eastern Front with the Germans against the Russians. Now, does anybody have any doubt where the Muslim Brotherhood is coming from?
No, and
it's a known historical fact, but you don't know it because they ain't going to tell you.
Well, this is so Orwellian. This is so Orwellian, where you had the 3 great powers, and it didn't matter. Everything they did in wars and whatever else was all designed to keep people under control. And this is what it sounds like.
The population as much as possible.
Oh, yeah.
They want dead people. Too many people in the world.
Oh, yeah. We just did a story earlier how the Dutch now are pushing for a new liberalized euthanasia bill.
They've been doing it for years. Now it's getting official.
You want to make it easier for people to decide. If you're lonely now.
That's right.
You're lonely.
They don't want to pay to keep them healthy.
No, you're lonely.
To extend their life another 5 or 10 years because the bill is too big.
Loneliness is justification for euthanasia under this new thing, and it's very, very depressing. It's very so.
What do you think
which raises a question.
Obama medical thing is all about.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. The Obama death penalty. Absolutely.
That's right. And they're going to snap into operation just about a year from now. And all of you old people like me who are ill, they're going to let you die.
Because after all, you're a drain on society. You are not giving as much as you are taking.
Yeah, but you don't have their phrase. We, people like me, are useless eaters.
Eaters. There you go. And that's a strictly socialistic viewpoint, folks. Okay, because society is more important than any individual in the socialist paradigm. So, okay, we've talked about this. I keep asking you about this time and time again. Are the American people going to rise up and rebel against their government?
Probably. It'll take a while yet. We have to get unemployment up to 38 or 40%, like it was in 1933. It'll get there. Just be patient.
Yeah, but will it actually ever get there because of the massaging of statistics from an art?
Well, yeah, but you get people like me around telling people the truth. Actually, the kingpin is John Williams. He's the economist that puts all this stuff together. I did it for a long time. I said, forget it. John does it better than I do, so I'll copy his figures. And of course, I give credit to him and I do it multiply on the radio, and it'll allow me on television. And I gotta mention something. I was on another show this morning, and in this we have people all email in on that service that measures how many people are listening to a program. What is it called?
There are a number of them. I don't know if
the one you mentioned earlier in the program, Call In Twice. Yes.
TalkStream Live?
And listen to this, every other Monday morning, I'm on with Joyce Riley. And they try to jam it. And everybody, there's over 100 names on there for that hour. Everybody is on alternative radio, except 2. and that's Glenn Beck and Laura, the last name?
Blessinger.
Ingram, that's it.
Ingram.
And we're always number 3. And they go crazy when we're number 3 every week. And I had to mention it to you because you mentioned that. And we can't, you and others, in alternative radio really can't compete with the audiences that the others got. So, I mean, you've got to take those figures and dilute them by 20 or 30 to 1 because of the exposure they've got. So we're really, in essence, reaching as many people as they are. And very often when I'm on, I beat Beck and Laura Ingham. I have many, many times on that program and others. So I thought I'd throw that in there. It's important that you go into the system and punch the button for this program. Very important, especially for the advertisers. Right?
Thank you for that. Appreciate
Well,
it.
listen, I don't get paid to do this, and as long as it's the proper thing, I'll say anything I want.
Yeah.
And you can agree with me if you disagree with me. If
Absolutely,
you like to.
and as long as you don't say the 7 bad words, I will defend your right to say it.
My mind is blank.
All right. 2012 is upon us. Are you willing to offer us any prediction?
Absolutely dreadful year. But it can get worse, and it probably will in 13 and 14 and 15. And somewhere along the way in there, I don't know when, the bottom's going to. Could be 2020, it could be 2014, 15. All I know is the next year's going to be awful. Europe has solved no problems whatsoever, and they try to use this cover of this debt problem to remove the sovereignty from the 17 participants in the Eurozone to this ESM, that is the European Stabilization Mechanism. And that will be run by 8 appointees, along with 17 finance ministers, all of whom are appointees, and they will tell each and every country how to run their domestic product and what their budget will be. And if you don't like it, that's tough. And so what happens is each one of those countries will lose their sovereignty.
Or well, wait a minute. You've got like Italy, Ireland looking at going back to their original currencies.
I think that's terrific.
And so, I mean, they're taking a look at that as a possibility. And if they do that, and Greece is also looking at that, if they do that, they can preserve their sovereignty, even though it'll be like going bankrupt and you lose a whole lot. They're
bankrupt anyway. They're bankrupt anyway. And let me say this, that it's a move towards world government. That's what it's all about. Now, there's a flip side to that. We had the British come in and say, no, we're not going to do that because you want to tax financial transactions in London. Financial world in London makes up 40% of employment and 10% in the country overall. It's the most important thing that happens is the criminal syndicate that runs the city of London. And that's why Cameron was given orders that he's a prime minister. Well, what it was about the British saying, no, we're not going to play ball with these changes that you want to make to the original Maastricht Treaty, which was 1992, and the following Lisbon Treaty, which is about a year and a half or 2 years ago, which is bogus as they come. But anyway, they want to change them, and they said, no, we're not going to play. And they have to have 100% participation. So Germany and France are going to have to say, hey, let's make a deal. And either that or they're going to get nothing. Because the British aren't going to back down, and they can't throw them out of the European Union. And so they got a real problem. And
don't you think the EU is just going to, the threads that are holding it together are just going to snap?
Good. Don't know. Because you get the Fed in there feeding them all kinds of money. Well, what have they given them? Probably $1 trillion. What will they give them? Probably $2 or $3 trillion. I mean, people cannot understand what these people are like. You know, when they think about criminals, they think about guys and ladies who rob stores and banks and murder people and things like that. They don't think about white-collar criminals that way. And what you're dealing with is arch criminals. This is a syndicate of thieves.
See, I've been telling you that for
centuries.
years. I've been telling you all that for years. He said it, not me. He said it.
And to top it off, I was in the brokerage business for almost 30 years. I own my own firm. So I know what Wall Street's all about. Thank God they hate it. Every time I get on the radio, and they listen to every program, the government does and hands it out to them. And in my publication, by far is the most plagiarized publication in the world, and I think that's terrific. Because I want everybody to know what these people are doing. I certainly don't do it for money at my age, because where I'm going, they don't use money.
What about your safety? Are you concerned for it?
Well, I moved out of the country almost 10 years ago, and they're going to have a heck of a time trying to find me because, you know, I used to be employed by those people. So I know all their tricks and how they do things and how to do the things you need to do to go undercover. Of course, I'd have to get off the air, and I'd have to move probably, every 2 months.
But you've got a contingency if you need to do so.
These people, believe me, they'd have to put 100 CIA agents on Latin America for the next year or two and hope they find me.
That's good to know. That really is. Bob, tell people about...
I've already taken that precaution, and I've told so many of people like yourself who are on the air, after the next election, if Ron Paul doesn't win, they're going to start collecting you. And you saw that military authorization act that was just passed, you're going to disappear. That's their next step.
Well, a lot of people...
This is not idle. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I know how the minds of these people work. They're very smart, if not brilliant. But we're just as smart as they are. And we have a tremendous advantage. We're not sociopaths, and we're not psychopaths. And that gives us a big advantage. And we don't think we walk on water. Or we don't think we're masters of the universe. We're just people who want to help other people have decent lives.
Yeah, you said it better than I could have. Tell people, please, how they can get more information about the International Forecast.
Well, the International Forecaster is about business, finance, economic, social, and political issues all over the world. 23 years in publication. I had a great second career, and I'm very happy about that. Otherwise, I'd be sitting watching some boob on television. We publish by email on Wednesdays and Saturdays, runs around 35 or 40 pages each time. We have a hard copy that goes out every month, twice, for those who are not on the Internet. And everything you need to know every week is in that publication. You get a free introductory copy by going to theinternationalforecaster.com. The International, Forecaster.com. You can also go to www.intforecaster.com. That's Bob at intforecast.com. For those of you who would like to ask a question, and we answer everyone, you can also get a copy of either issue. And if you'd like, you can get a copy of our latest report on gold and silver shares. This is all free. And
is there a phone number they can call if they don't want to do it online?
Well, I'll get to that in a minute, but I got to give my email address, which is Bob, B-O-B, at intforecaster.com. Bob at intforecaster.com. And for those who want to call in, toll free, 877-479-8178. 877-479-8178. You can get free copies there. And if you want to become a subscriber, that's the best place to go because they give away free subscriptions. But there's an offer that they have, and the offer is really terrific. So take advantage of it.
Excellent. And we will, as always, have that information posted on our links page by the end of the week. So if you missed any part of that, you'll be able to pick it up at globalfreedomreport.com. Bob, thank you so much for all your great information, and it's been terrific having you here. I know you've heard that we're taking the show off the air. It's more because we're not getting the effect that we need to make it worth the amount of time we put in right now. We've got to take some time for ourselves. But I'll be on the air. You can be sure of that at some point, and I'm glad to know that you will as well, and we appreciate your being with us these many, many months.
Well, thank you very much, and be sure and send me a link to the program. And I'd like to thank all the sponsors who have helped you for so long, especially the freeze-dried guy, who I've recommended for over 20 years. And I receive absolutely no compensation from anybody except the people who subscribe to my